remove both the insulation and the plastic. This must be removed or your splice will fail. Do the same thing on all your leads. Put the two wires together. Get them as best you can. Insert them into the butt connector approximately halfway where the dimples are at. You're going to have extra like this, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a little pair of pliers supplied in the splice kit, and all these we're going to trim. Get rid of all your hairs that are poking out, the little wires. And once you get all of those, then we're going to take the main cable to the subsea connector. And we're going to insert that in this side. Now once you've got to this point, then you will need to get your crimpers and crimp these cables. All right. Starting at one end, crimp. Once that one's done, go to the other end, crimp, and then go back across the connector. And when you're done, it should look like that. Now take your crimper and go down one size. This is for guaranteed. You should not be able to pull this apart at all. So now it is connected. So what we're going to do next is we're going to check for sharp edges and burrs. Any burrs, little pieces of wire sticking out, we're going to crimp those off like so. Any sharp edges here, take your file, take some sandpaper, whatever you have that will clean these up and make sure there's no little sharp edges sticking out anywhere. So now we've finished crimping. You're going to do this to all legs. So you're going to have U1 and U2, V1 and V2, W1 and W2. Included in your kit, you should have got a piece of Scotch filled, and what you're going to do is you're going to cut this in small strips, approximately a ½ inch, with a pair of scissors, a knife, any way that you can do it. You're going to cut them about like so. And then what you're going to do with that, once you make sure there's no anything on here, remove the backing. And then we're going to start here or here. It doesn't matter where you start. It just, you make sure there's no sharp edges or anything. And so The Scotch putty, you can put it on any way, it doesn't matter. The further you put this apart, the easier it's going to be for you to do this. And this will put itself together. It does not have any adhesive on it, but it will stick to everything, and you cannot get it apart. The main thing is that you're going to end up covering this all and use as much of this as you need. There should be plenty supplied in our kit. You want to cover all the copper where you can't see any copper. And you want to make sure you get a good solid layer in there. If this breaks, then all you have to do is, with the putty, it doesn't matter. It's not like tape. This is a very malleable stuff. It doesn't matter. You can mold this around anything just like so. It's not taped to the point that it has to be done a certain way. Now I'm going to work my way down. We're going to go all the way to the wire and up on the wire a little bit. And any place that you think needs more putty, just go over the top of it, stretch it out. And as you can see, that's why they call it putty. You can move it around, and this is what you're going to look like. It's covered in between. You must make a watertight splice. And in order to do that, this is the first step. Okay, the next tape is Scotch 23, and you're going to take about 9 to 10 inches. And to help me, I cut one end at an angle. It doesn't matter what angle, it just helps start your rubber tape. And if you notice, there is a sheath on the outside of this. You can see the other side doesn't. And to remove this sheath, all you do is pull it a little bit and it comes off. Then you can remove it and remove the other side. And now both sides do not have what I call snake skin. This has been removed. This must be removed. Now, starting wherever you want to start, you start at this end or you can start at this end. It doesn't matter which end you start at. I typically start at this end over here, and you're going to start about 3/4 of an inch past where the butt connector mates to the cable. And you're going to stretch it till it goes over the top of it. So you're going to stretch this tape, and you see how far I'm stretching it. You go up here about 1 inch, then you overlap and start back down the wire to the butt connector, and you're pulling this tight the whole time, like so. If you pull it too tight and your tape breaks, you have smushed up here, you get everything back to normal as close as you can. If you have to cut it again, put it on here, it will stick to it, and then overlap a little bit and then go back to doing your tape. And if you run out of tape, it's not a big deal. This tape is self-vulcanizing. It will stick to itself once pressure and heat are applied to it, especially pressure. If you noticed, it does not come unraveled. No glue on it. So if you run out like I did, even though, and it's just smaller pieces are easier to work with. And here again, I've got the straight in my hand. I'm going to cut the other end at an angle, like such. And here again, grab the tape. If it breaks like that, it's real easy. Just do it again. It comes right off. Make sure you remove this little piece here. And then start where you left off, just a little bit prior to where you left off. Wrap it like so. Now, when you get to the Y, you have two pieces here. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we don't try to not put any wrinkles or fold the edges of the tape over. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over like so, and we're going to go back through like this. Then we're going to go stretch the tape, go over the top, and back through. We are going to continue this. Same thing, go back over the top, stretch the tape, just like so. You can do this a couple of times if you need to. Try to keep the wrinkles out of it. Now you can go down this leg, (1 to 2 inches). That's what one should look like. All right, the next piece of tape or next layer, we're going to start at this end again. We're going to start a little bit past here before this ended at, so that we can overlap our tapes. And we're going to make it look like this. Now, we're going to go back over to the top. And here again, you see me stretching the tape constantly. And what we're trying to do is make it look as uniform as possible so that it will be pretty. But the main thing is to make sure that it covers everything. Okay, once we get here again to the Y, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go in here. And we're going to put the diapers on it. We're going to go around just like so. And then we're going to start down this leg. And here again, if you get to the point to where you're out of tape, just like that, get you another piece of tape. You have a whole roll of this. Peel the snake skin off. Every one of them you're going to have to peel the snake skin off of it, or the outer jacket, whatever you want to call it. Take and start here. Stretch your tape. Go down this leg, about like you did the other. And then terminate. You're going to do this 3 times. You're going to go down, 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 and down 3 times. You should end up about right here. Again on it. So the next layer of tape is going to be Scotch 130C. This tape is very unusual. And the reason why I say it's very unusual is most tapes you put the sticky side down. This tape, and this is not my instructions, this is instructions from 3M. This tape, you put the sticky side up. So what you're doing is the same thing that we did with the Scotch 23 is we're going to start a little bit back. You're going to stretch the tape and bring it around. And this is what you have. Is you're going to start and you stretch the tape just like so. And here's the sticky side. See what I'm telling you? It sticks. Doesn't stick here, but it will stick here. The sticky side up. Go over it, stretch your tape, and you notice it turns colors. It goes from a black to a kind of a grayish color. So you're going to stretch your tape. You're going to continue to go down here. All the way down. Now you're going to get to your Y again. We're going to do the same thing with this one. Is we're going to pull it up. We're going to make to where it does a Y or a figure 8 and try to keep your tape straight. No bubbles. Try not to get any wrinkles or bubbles in it.
If you do, you need to.
And you're going to try to get it in there. If you do get any bubbles in it, try to straighten the bubbles out as best as you can. This tape is self-vulcanized. In other words, it sticks to itself here again. With everything that you've done here, you're trying to get this to be watertight. It must be watertight. So continue on. And then when you get to this point, after you've wrapped this several times, you're going to go and you're going to wrap down this leg just like you did with the Scotch 23. And here again, if this tape breaks, let's just say it broke on you, push it down like that, take your end, make sure there's no frays or anything, continue down this leg, U1, U2, V1, V2, W1, W2. So as you see, you are now down here, and I just put it back a little bit just to cover the end, and you cut it off, and you put it like that. That's the first leg. Then here again, just like before, start a little bit, stretch your tape, run it around, go a little bit, 3/4 to 1 inch, then back down all the way down the tape, all the way down the connector, all the way down. Now, if that happens, just like that, what you do is you back up. If you can straighten your tape out, fine, it's okay. If you can't, cut this and start over again. In case you fumble, you drop, you twist the tape, something along that line, if a mishap happened, then what you need to do is cut it out, start over, back up like I said before, then continue to make your wraps down the length of the tape, the splice, the butt connector. You will do this all the way down till you get to the Y again, and we're going to continue to stretch the tape, go in here as many times as you think you need to, because this is the important part, is to make sure that everything is watertight. And if something is out of the ordinary, then try to fix it. If you can't, then you might give me a call on the telephone. I've put my number on the Splice Kit instructions that I'm going to be sending to you. But what the main purpose of this is to cover this area that is exposed electricity to water. So you're making a watertight splice. So then you continue down the other leg that you opposite of what you did prior to this one. And if one of these is in your way, just move it out of the way a little bit. Continue down to 1 inch past where you went before. Just like so. Do that down each leg 3 times. Go 1, down this one, now we're going to go down this one, then we'll go back down this one, and then back down this one. 3 times. All right, after you've completed your last layer of Scotch 130C, the sticky side is out on all of this. It should look approximately like what I have here, this tape being a little bit longer up here. So what we're going to do next is we are going to then, the 2 leads, the U1 and the U2, or V1, V2, W1, W2, put them together, and then we're going to take the Scotch 23, and we're going to do the same thing, only this time we're going to wrap both of these together. Yes, there will water. This is not for water tightness. This is just to make the splice stay together. So we want to get it as tight as possible, get it together. You're going to go all the way down. You're going to cover this all up. Did with the 23 and the 130. If you notice, I stretch it and pull it around. I stretch it and pull it around. You want to stretch this tape. It does change colors a little bit, not as noticeable as with the other 2 types of tape. Once you complete this, you go past the end, like we did before. And then, instead of cutting the tape this time, we're going to go back down the tape one more time. Continue down all the way, just like before, all the way here. And you're going to do this 3 times also. And this is going to be repeated on all your pairs of wires, W1, W2, V1, V2, U1, U2. Overlapping each time by 1/4 of an inch or half of the roll of tape. Continue on down the tape till you get to the end. And if you see another mistake like that, you can take this tape, straighten it out, and get the wrinkles out of it. Anytime you have wrinkles, the reason we don't want to see wrinkles is because that's a place for moisture to get trapped, and we don't want any kind of moisture getting in here. So after you've done this back and forth 3 times, terminate your tape. All right, the last layer is a white fiberglass tape. This is actually a heat barrier tape. When we apply, we're going to put shrink tube over the top of this. And once we put the shrink tube over the top of it, we need a heat barrier so that you don't undo all the work that you just did. So we're going to get our fiberglass tape, heat barrier tape. We're going to start at one end or the other, and here again, it doesn't matter which one start. This time, do not go over the top, start prior to that. This can have wrinkles, it can be anything. Just make sure that you cover all of the tape. Don't leave any of the tape showing, because if you do, it won't protect the tape from heat. Because this tape, under high heat, it will melt. This tape does not melt. It's made from fiberglass, and it's called a heat barrier tape. And this tape does come unraveled at the edges. If it does, it's not a big deal. You're not going to hurt anything. Just go back over it like so. And continue down the length of the wire, the connector, the splice, and cover it all with this tape. Once you get to the end, you can terminate everything.
So one layer only, right?
One layer of this tape is all that is required. Just go past the end where none of the other tapes that you do, and that is one complete splice. Again, you should have been supplied 3 pieces of ITC 2000, ITC N 2000. And this is your shrink tubing. It's got glue on the inside of it. You can kind of see the glue there a little bit. Now what you're going to do is you're going to slide this over the top of your connector all the way down to your splice and cover up both ends of your splice like so. Once you get it in place, and you can hold it in place like this, make sure that you've got your splice in here. Try to center it as closely as you possibly can. Now the heat barrier tape's on there for this reason. We are going to use a torch to melt this shrink tubing. So starting at one end or the other, get your heat source. Now you can use a heat gun if you do not have a torch. It takes a little longer to do it, but you can do it with a heat. We want to use a propane or butane torch. Do not use an oxygen or acetylene torch. You will burn through this. You want something that has to do, this is a propane here. We buy these at our local hardware store. I don't know what you can buy there, but something that puts out a medium grade heat. Starting at one end, you will go all the way around. Don't just stay in one spot. You've got to go all the way around, and it's going to shrink down. It's going to continue to shrink. And it has glue on the inside. It's probably going to come out. As you see, it's starting to shrink down. You can see the ends here where it's starting to protrude out, but it's shrunk down. And we're going to continue down all the way down. Don't worry about if you burn it like this. It's not a big deal. All of this will come off. Just do not get it so hot that you burn it through either side or any of the sides. As you can see, I'm trying to go all the way around it. It's shrinking down, and as it shrinks down, we're going to continue to go down the length of the splice till we get to the very end. All right, there's one thing. I'm going to stop the torch for a minute. While this is still warm, you can, if you need to, you can stretch this just a little bit. It will not hurt to stretch it a little bit. All this is for, more than anything else, is mechanical protection. This is not to make this splice any more waterproof than what it was prior to this. You did all the waterproofing when you did the splice. This is for mechanical protection. Now I'm going to finish this out, but I want to show you one other thing. If you look, it looks like all of this stuff is burnt. All you need to do is take some cleaner that is not flammable. We use a lot of WD-40. We keep it away from any flame, and we will spray this down and then take a rag, which I will show you in a few minutes what it looks like after we're done. I'm going to finish now all the way down to the end. As you see, I'm putting heat on it evenly down here, and it shrinks down. It goes all the way down around the cable. We haven't had any issues. We've made these splices before, so we know that this will shrink down far enough and protect your cable. But this is mainly to protect a mechanical, to just protect your splice from being damaged on the outside. If you notice, it looks like it might be burning. It's not burning. You don't want to get on here too much. You want to stay on here. The glue is coming out the ends. You can see the glue coming out the end, so I wouldn't put anything underneath it. And down here at the other end, where we first started, you can see that it dripped out. All you need to do is take this and pull it off like such. It's all nice, but the thing is, if you see some place that you think needs, you can go back. You can hit it a little bit. Put a little more heat on it if you need to. But you want to work from one end to the other end, and it's going to look something like this when you're done. The next step that I do is the following. No flame on here. It's still hot to touch, so I would not touch it with my bare hand, but I'm going to spray some on here like so. Then I'm going to wipe it down. And as you see, it looks like you never put a torch to it. There's what it looked like before. Here's what it looked like after. It looks nice and clean. If it didn't get clean enough, go back over it, hit it again, and there you go. You're all done. That's what your splice should look like when you're finished. After you've completed all three of these, you should have a connector on one end. The other end should be going to your motor. You are now ready to make the connection, or if you need to splice the connectors to the cable, you're going to do the same process, except you don't have a Y to contend with. You're just going to do the splice without the Y, having to worry about putting tape in the Y. So this is what it looks like when you're completely done after it's cooled down. We leave it straight like this because if you leave it and let it cool, it will be curled. Not that you can't straighten it out, but it's just easier if you leave it like this. Now that you've completed all three of your leads, we want to check the integrity of your splice. The way that we do that is we take a trough of water, a big tub of water, something that you can submerge this cable, the splice that you made. You're gonna put all three of them in. You're gonna put your one end lead, your ground lead in the water. The other one you're gonna touch to the end of the connector, which is a male connector. So touch it and check for your mega ohm readings. If you get a infinity or whatever it is before you started splicing, the same reading, then you've got a good splice. Leave it there for an hour, check it again. If you're still getting the same reading, come back in another hour and check it. And if you're getting a good reading, leave it there for 24 hours, come back the next day. And if it's got the same meg readings that you had the previous day, you have a good splice. You are now, take that up, pick it up, you're ready to install your pump.